what mistakes had you made, or what lessons did you learn during that period of time? And then I'm curious of when did you transition to KW?
I've made a lot of mistakes. Trying to go back that many years to figure out what all those mistakes are, I don't know, because I've made so many other ones since that point. But also back then there was no model to follow, and the teams weren't a thing. Now everybody's a team, even if they're not really, even if they're just a group of people, they're calling themselves a team. So, it's important to distinguish the difference between a real team and just a group of people, right? A team is, they're all rowing in the same direction. They all have the same common goal.
Hello, you beautiful people. Welcome to Tampa Bay Unlocked, the podcast where we dive into the dynamic world of real estate and business in the vibrant Tampa Bay area. Join us as we sit down with top agents and industry leaders who share their insights, strategies, and stories of success. Whether you're a seasoned professional or just starting out, our interviews will unlock the secrets to thriving in one of Florida's hottest markets. Get ready to be inspired, informed, and motivated by the experts shaping the future of Tampa Bay. Tune in and let's unlock the wisdom from our next guest. I have Noah Ostroff, the operating principal of KW Impact and CEO of many other businesses. Noah, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. I love it, and I love this podcast studio. It's definitely the coolest podcast studio I've ever been in, so good job with it.
Well, I appreciate that. We're excited for everything that we've been doing in here and shaping the future. And, just for everyone, full transparency, this is our second go at our intro. I have no shame in putting that out there. And so we'll get you caught up. If you see a little blip in the episode, that's why, some technical difficulties. But no, we had a great dive, and I'm excited for all the listeners to hear into everything that you are doing and how you got there. But we started off in the beginning of when you got into real estate. What year did you start?
So I started in real estate 2003 as working for a large home builder in Florida. Did that for a couple years until I became a real estate agent in 2008.
2008. And so then 2008, you're at Coldwell Banker.
Yep.
You do 50 homes your first year.
Yep.
And you launch a website.
Yep, phillyliving.com.
phillyliving.com, and you're early to the website game, and you crush it with SEO.
Yes.
How many leads were you getting per month from that website?
We were getting about 1,000 visitors a day to the site naturally, and we were getting about 200 to 300 leads a month from the site. No forced registration, just through SEO.
Organic search.
Yes.
That's pretty remarkable. I'm sure people would love to be able to get 200 to 300 leads now, right? From a website. Yeah, with no page. It's a totally different landscape. And so you had some time at Coldwell Banker. When did you and grew a team? You were ahead of growing the team model because you were forced to do so. Right.
Yes.
At the time before you left Coldwell Banker, how many people were on your team?
So we started the team probably 2009 out of a need for people to handle the leads. We had nobody to follow. There was really no other teams at that time there. So we sort of created as we went, and we from basically 2009 or 10 through 2014, which is when we were at Coldwell Banker, we had the team. And when we left there in 2014, we were about 15 people on the team at that point.
Wow. That's a lot of people.
Yeah.
Because I don't remember where we were in conversation when this cut off, but I know there was a time where you made a switch and you put a big presentation together for your people.
Yep.
And you were saying that you were dating KW for like a year.
Yeah, dating KW for a year. We were going to the trainings.
Yep.
We were having business conversations that we hadn't had before and learning about that, which was pretty cool. And then after a while, we were happy. We were happy where we were at. We didn't need to make a change. But after a while, we said, oh, this is stupid. Why are we need to be both feet in. We can't be 1 foot in, 1 foot out, just taking the good stuff. We need to jump in and get all the good stuff. And so we finally made a switch in 2014. And at that point, we were doing about $90 million in business. And from the first time we came to Keller Williams, we got put into the room with people around the country that were doing 1,000 or 1,500 deals a year, way more than us. We were the low man on the totem pole. Mm-hmm. And we got to hear what they were doing and hear all their secrets and having different conversations than what I was used to. I had nobody to look up to before. And now I was in the room with people that were going where I wanted to go and learning from them, and we were able to grow so much right after that.
How important is that to you, to be able to surround yourself with people who are doing bigger things than you?
It's one of my top most important things. It's how you get to the next level. It's about being with people. They say you're the product of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, and it's really the truth. Is the people that you spend the most time with are the ones that are going to teach you how to get to the next level and what that means. You don't know what you don't know. Mm-hmm. You don't know what the next level is until you're around other people that are doing things different and having different conversations. 11, 12, 13, around there, we had quickly become the top team in our at the brokerage. Mm-hmm. And the brokerage back then was one of the better brokerages. Mm-hmm. And we were doing back then in like 2012 and 13, like 80 or 90 million a year. We had grown the team up to about 15 agents. I personally was still doing a lot of deals. We had some more operations people at that time because just, the way I looked at it was I always focused on being a listing agent for a couple reasons. I had, by the time I got into real estate, I had my first daughter, and she was born in 06, and this was in 2008. And then by 09, I had 3 kids. So I had little kids at home. I wanted to be home for dinner. I wanted to be there at all their stuff. I wanted like a normal schedule. So I would get into the office at, call it 8 o'clock or so, and I would be home for dinner by 6 o'clock, 6:30, pretty much every night. I worked Monday through Friday. Obviously, the first year, I worked a lot. But after the first year, I started to get burnt out. I wanted to have a more regular schedule. So I pretty much was like at 8 in the morning, 6 o'clock at night, I was home. Put the kids to bed, have dinner with the family. Of course, I did a little bit of work after they went to bed. Mm-hmm. I didn't really work on the weekends unless I really had to. I would tell if clients wanted to meet with me, after 6 o'clock at night or on the weekends, I would say, I'm not available at that time, but here are the times that I am able to meet. Yep. And I would say 80% of the time, the clients would meet me at the times that I needed to, and they saw enough value in what I did, and they didn't.
It's funny you say that because a lot of agents are worried about that, especially starting out. Like that becomes a fear of like feeling like they always need to be available. And Correct. I think setting the precedent that you have standards and yet you operate during these actually makes you more of a professional.
I think so too. And we, the analogy we always use was, do you see your doctor at 8 o'clock at night? Do you see your doctor on Saturday or Sunday? And it's no. Mm-hmm. And if you let people, if people see the value in what you provide and you let them know about what your standards are and what your availability is, most of the time they will adhere to that. Now, did I lose business sometimes because of that? Possibly, but
did you lose your sanity? No.
And for me, it was more important for me to spend time with my family and to have more control of my schedule. But also, I was able to do that because I positioned myself as a listing agent. And it's harder to do that as a buyer's agent. It can be done, but it's harder to do it as a buyer's agent. Yeah. As a listing agent, you can do that. You can control your time better. You're the one that's putting the product on the market. All the buyer's agents are the ones sort of doing the work for you and running the buyers around. And if you're working with a buyer, what would you say? How many buyers do you think you can work with, active buyers at one time? 10, 15, maybe if you're
active,
really good?
I mean, you're hustling.
You're hustling, right?
There's no
5,
time off.
10, maybe 15, but that's a lot.
That's a lot.
I can work with pretty much unlimited amount of listings at a time. I can work with, at some point, I've had over 200 listings at one point, like listed on the market. And you do that because you can go out and you just bring on more marketing people, more listing coordinators, more back office people to do those things.
Right, because after the appointment, it's all back in.
It's not that much more of my time. It can be, but not much more of my physical time. If I'm working with, I can't work with 200 buyers at one time because I'm physically out there showing buyers around, right? So I was able to do that because I positioned myself as a listing agent.
But at that time, there's no model that you're following. So this is all, trial by fire. Or whatever. What's that saying? I don't know.
Trial by fire. Yeah. Flying by the seat of your pants.
Yeah.
Fake it till you make it.
You're just figuring it out. And so what mistakes had you made or what lessons did you learn during that period of time? And then I'm curious of when did you transition to KW?
I've made a lot of mistakes. Trying to go back that many years to figure out what all those mistakes are, I don't know because I've made so many other ones since that point. But also back then there was no model to follow, and the teams weren't a thing. Now everybody's a team, even if they're not really, even if they're just a group of people. they're calling themselves a
Right.
team. So, it's important to distinguish the difference between a real team and just a group of people, right? A team is, they're all rowing in the same direction. They all have the same common goal. They're all, doing the things that they should be doing as a team on a regular basis. There's a leader of the team. There's, maybe leads coming in. There's marketing support. There's transactional support. There's training, education. There's cohesion in a team. There's a lot more teams out there now, and teams have evolved and teams have become huge now. Some teams are bigger than brokerages. A lot of teams do more than a lot of brokerages now. Teams have become mini brokerages. So you see that, and I've made a lot of mistakes since that point. Back in, I would say maybe 2013, I started getting invited to some Keller Williams training events in Philadelphia in my market. Now, Keller Williams was not a great local company back then. Even nationally, it was just all right. From a national perspective standpoint, they were still doing great things, perception standpoint. But in my market, they weren't even in the top 5, I don't think. But they were doing things differently than everybody else, and I recognized that. And so I got invited to some trainings, and I went to the trainings, and they were having business conversations, different than the conversations that I had been used to. Because, when I was at my previous company, I had nobody to go to. I had nobody to look up to. There was no other teams to follow, no
You were
models
leading
to follow.
the charge. Yeah.
I was leading the charge, and I was doing it by, again, trial by fire, figuring it out. But then I started going to these Keller Williams training events and opening my eyes up to different business conversations. The conversations were just different, and I liked it. But I was happy where I was at, right? Isn't that what we always hear?
Yeah, that's what you hear all the time.
And I was making good money. I was also paying my previous brokerage a lot of money because it was more of a traditional model, an uncapped model. But I didn't know the difference. And frankly, I didn't care. I was making money, was good, and I didn't care about making a switch. I was happy. But I was still going to go to the trainings. So for a year or more, I would say I was dating Keller Williams, right? I would go to the trainings. I went to Mega Camp. I went to a lot of the regional things, but I stayed at my company.
Yeah.
And then after a while, I was like, why am I doing this? I was having better conversations there, and I really just enjoyed what I was hearing. So eventually I decided to make the switch.
What was that like for you?
It was a lot of...
How many people were on your team at the time when you made the switch?
We had 15 people on the team at that time. We were doing around...
This is a big change for everybody.
Big change for everybody. We were doing about 90 million in business back then. And me and my sales manager at the time, that's what he was called, and my operations people were behind closed doors for months, rebranding. We work with a branding agency, keeping all this a secret. My agents didn't know. And we rebranded ourselves. We got new signs, new logos, new everything, new colors, figuring out logistics of signs, how we were going to creating spreadsheets of all of our signs and how we were going to switch out the signs, like all the things we needed to do to make the transition. And we worked on that for a couple months, and we had it perfectly orchestrated. And we met our agents. We took them out to lunch, and we made a whole presentation of the past, the present, and the future. So we talked about the past, where we came from, what we were doing. We talked about the present, where we're at now, and we talked about where we want to go as a team and what the vision was for the team in the future. And then we finished it off by saying, and we believe that the best place for us to execute on this vision is going to be at Keller Williams. And that's where we revealed our signs. That's when we let everybody know. And that's when we told them about it. And at that point, we were providing, and we still are, we provide a lot of value to our agents, and 100% of our agents came over.
Was there fear when you were doing that you would lose some people?
A little bit, but 100%.
Is that why you put the effort in behind? Like, I want to go deeper on that, because, I mean, the amount of effort to keep that secret, right? But your ops people and like everyone's buying to you to do all that work, and now you get to this reveal, and it could have like got thrown back in your face.
Correct. And we just wanted people didn't switch companies as much back then as they do now. Now a lot of people switch companies. Back then it was a big deal when we switched. Yeah. But we also didn't want our brokerage to know about it.
Right.
We wanted to make sure we had everything in place before we did that in case something happened. So we told them they all switched. We had 50 listings at the time. We had 50 properties pending, like under contract. And we took all 50 listings with us. All the listings, they wanted to stay with us. All our contracts closed. Of course, we had to work something out with the previous company, but that's fine. And then all of our agents came with us as well.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So now
That was 2014.
2014, we move forward. What happens from that point forward? Like if we could just fast track through a few of those years just for the sake of time.
2014, we were put in the room with people that were doing way more business than us.
Right. So now all of a sudden there's bigger fish in the pond and you realize, okay, now there's room to grow because there's people to learn from.
From around the country. It wasn't local, it was national. So we were the low man on the totem pole at that point. We were in the room with people doing 1,000, 1,500 deals a year. And I was having conversations with them, asking them what they do. And everyone was willing to share everything that they were doing, tell me everything. And I learned so much stuff. And some of it was so simple, but I didn't know about it.
Right.
You
didn't know what you didn't know.
You don't know what you don't know. And so we went from 90 million to 180 million that first year at Keller Williams. Second year at Keller Williams, we went from 180 million to 225 million. Then we expanded into 13 locations around the country.
Expansion model.
Started doing expansion back then, again, with no roadmap to follow. No, we were kind of pioneers, pirates. We were the Pirates group. We were the pioneers of what expansion was because nobody was doing it back then. People are doing it now, of course. We didn't know what we were doing. We were making mistakes. We opened up in 13 locations around the country, and we even had a location in the UK for a period of time. And we were selling a lot of houses, but we weren't controlling our expenses. We were spending a lot of money. And that was a big mistake that we made, is like that would be something I'd caution people on when they're making.
Did you have partners at this time? Was it just you leading? Like what was
it was just me. I brought on a COO at the time who eventually, came on to become the CEO. I got out of the way. And we were growing the team. We had a director of sales. We had expansion directors. We had a director of training. We had multiple. We had like 10 transaction people. We had a lot of people. We were doing over 100 deals a month at that point.
Wow. Quite an operation. Okay, so let's transition. So sales team, you got out of that. You just said you put a CEO in place, so you kind of removed yourself a little bit from the team to go on and do what? What then caught your interest?
2016, I got an opportunity to open up a Keller Williams franchise in Philadelphia. So I started a Keller Williams franchise in Philadelphia.
And what led you to want to do that?
I didn't want to do that. I did not want to do that, but there was a ceiling being put on me at the place I was at, and I couldn't grow at the place I was at, and I needed to grow, and I couldn't have anything standing in the way of where we were going. So,
because your team had grown so much at that point.
Team had grown. We were getting bigger. We were recruiting big agents, $10, $20 million agents to our team at that point. We had a lot of listings. We were becoming big very quickly, and I think there was some. Not everybody wants to see you succeed. We'll just say that. Not everybody appreciates the success that you're having along the way.
So did the opportunity to open up, was that something that you sought after? Is like that was the solution to your problem, or was it presented to you by someone else?
There was a bunch of different options that we were exploring at that time, and that was just one of the options that we were exploring. I really had no interest in owning a brokerage. I didn't want the liability. I was selling myself personally 125 houses a year at the time. That doesn't include anybody on the team. That was just me. It was too much. I didn't have time to do it. But I sort of partially got convinced that I was capable of doing it and that people would follow if I did it and we could do something really cool. And then I started getting excited about it. The more time I spent having conversations, the more excited I got about it.
So there was a leader that you admired or had some mentorship with that saw something in you that convinced you to do it? Because I've noticed just in myself, there's been, including you and some others, that were like, oh, you can actually do this, right? And you're like,
correct.
Can I? Wait, what? Because it's not even on your radar.
Correct.
So was that something that was going on for you?
I had a lot of conversations. Hey, if I were to open up a brokerage, what do you think about that? And a lot of the response was, you should definitely do that. You would be great at it. You could do something really cool. I would be willing to come with you. And I wasn't trying to recruit people to come with me. I just wanted to get people's opinions. But the more people I talked to, it seemed like, and I was presenting my hypothesis and vision of what I thought would be a cool brokerage around a collaboration where agents and teams could have their highest productivity and best work-life balance, and creating something really cool that didn't exist, where all the top agents were sharing everything that they do and creating a culture of collaboration. People are like, yeah, I want to be a part of that. Definitely. I definitely want to be a part of that. And the more of those conversations I had, the more in my mind it became real. And I'm like, we're doing this.
Okay.
And we did it. And that was in 2016.
All right. So it's a big shift.
Big
Right.
shift.
Yeah.
So 2016, started to grow that brokerage with just my team. It was 15 of us that came over. Then we started bringing on some other agents, some other teams, and it just seemed like every week, every couple weeks, the biggest people in the market were coming over to our brokerage. First year, we added 150 people. Second year, we added 160 people. And by year number 3, we were the number 1 brokerage in Philadelphia. And the previous number 1 had been number 1 for 30 years.
Wow. So came in quick.
It happened quick. We did a really cool office. Our office looked like a tech office. So that office wasn't something that existed. All the offices were like old traditional looking offices. We did a more collaborative space with, open concept desks where you could talk to each other. Even where we put with music, loud music, and a lot of training, and brought in top speakers from around the country pretty much on a monthly basis. And we were just doing something different, and we were attracting people.
It's really cool. So 2016 to now, and then what are you focusing on at that time? So yes, you're running a brokerage. You have a CEO in place of your team. Some other opportunities start to present themselves to you, I'm sure, at this time.
Yeah. So starting in 2010, I started to get into development because that was I knew how to do it, and I was selling houses to developers, and they were making 10 times as much money as I was making in commission off of profits. And I said, I know how to do this too. Why don't I start doing that? So in 2010, I did my first new construction house, did well on it, did another one the next year. And then from there, we just kept doing more and more. I did 3, then I did 10, and then I did a project with 48, and I'm just finishing up something with 82 homes right now. And I just, development became a bigger and bigger thing for me while I was running my team, while I was running the brokerage. So those were kind of the 3 avenues, the 3 playgrounds that I was playing in at that point.
And at that time, because there's so much going on, how did you manage your focus? And I'm kind of teeing you up here because I think I know the answer, but one thing I think even as just an agent that struggles on is like where to put their time and energy. And so now you have 3 major entities that you're a 40 to 80 unit development project. You have a whole entire brokerage. You have your team. So what was your secret there or strategy to keeping the ball moving and not letting any balls get dropped?
So all 3 of those were my full-time job, and I just focused on the money-making activities, the growth activities. I didn't get caught up in the weeds. I focused on the high-level tasks and the money-making activities, which is what agents should focus on. I see a lot of times they get caught up in the things that don't matter, making a pretty buyer presentation, working on the things that don't matter instead of focusing on the lead generation, the money-making activities, and going out and getting clients and business development. And that's what I focused on. I focused on going out and finding properties. And for me, when I would go out and find properties and I would look for myself, if I didn't want to buy them, I would sell them to other people. So that sort of fed the real estate team. When I was listing my stuff, it sort of fed the real estate team. People looked at me as the new construction guy because I was listing a bunch of new construction homes for other developers. And then they just assumed that we were the ones to go to for new construction stuff. So then more people wanted to list with us and more people brought us deals. And the brokerage stuff, all that stuff was kind of all happening at the same time as well. So I'd really just focus on the high level things, the things that provide value to the company. And I hired people to focus on the other things that needed to get done.
I have a really good question I'm going to ask, but I just want to get to the next quick chapter. So then opportunity. So you have one office that you're running. You did had some other offices that you opened in Philadelphia as well, correct?
One brokerage, multiple teams.
Okay, with different locations.
Different locations, yeah.
And then an opportunity comes to move to acquire some offices in Pinellas and Hillsborough County in Florida.
Yep.
How was that? Was that because you were in the network, or how was that even on your radar? What was happening at that time for you to think about coming into another state?
I think opportunities come to the people that raise their hand for opportunities, and opportunities come to the people that I think if you're ready for an opportunity to come to you and you let people know you're looking for an opportunity and people see you as somebody who can take a business like this, things will come your way. And we were doing pretty well back then as a team. We were doing pretty well back then as a brokerage. And so when opportunities came to buy more brokerages, people presented them to me because I said, hey, if an opportunity comes to buy a brokerage, I'd be interested in buying some more. Same way when I say, hey, I want to buy more properties, the deals come to me, right? If you put it out there and let people know that you're available and open for opportunities, they will come to you, right? So I put it out there that I'm looking for more stuff, and some not so good opportunities came to me. And then I had an opportunity where one person owned 6 market centers, 6 brokerages in the Tampa Bay area. And they said, hey, would you be interested in buying these brokerages? I said, I'll take a look at it. And I took a look at it, and it was interesting. It was a new challenge for me. I knew how to run brokerages and knew how to do it well. And as the more I dove into it, the more exciting it got for me. It was a new challenge. It was something bigger for me, something different, learning opportunity. I try to learn and grow every opportunity that I have. And so, dove into it and do what we do. And here we are.
So what were some big, what were those pivotal moments of changing a different brokerage, starting a brokerage, buying brokerages in a different, and going into development? What were some big, I know mistakes were made, but what were some big learning lessons that you could look back on of that was something I learned and helped you get to the next level?
I think at every different level, as you scale and grow a business, the challenge for me, I would say mentally the challenge is how do you make your big company feel like a small company? Meaning everybody's names. You can still go out and do the cool things with people when you have a small company. The bigger your company gets, the harder it is to have that personal touch, that one-on-one relationship. And people like that stuff. But at the same time, you want to grow your business, but you still want to maintain that sort of family atmosphere. So that to me was always a challenge. The other biggest challenge for me, which still is today, is managing all of my relationships. Because when you have a brokerage, and back then the brokerage was up to 450 agents. Now that brokerage in Philly has 1,100 agents, and the brokerages here have about 11 or 1,200 agents as well.
It's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people, and managing all the relationships are hard because I have to spend time with my family. You have to spend time with your significant other. You have to spend time with your kids, your extended family, your parents, your siblings, your friends. You want time for yourself. That alone's a lot. Then you want to spend time with your business partners. You have to spend time with your team, your brokerage, your leaders. It's a lot of people to spread out your time with. So for me, it was always hard to manage all those relationships where people felt like they got enough of me and enough of my time. And when you're spread out very thin like that, it's hard to do. And it's still a struggle for me to be able to do that, just because your time's limited. You have to kind of spread it out between all the different things you're doing.
Yeah, it becomes an interesting challenge when you have that many people looking.
And there people will say, well, you can hire 5 people that all oversee all those things. And yes, you can. And really at all times, theoretically, only 5 people should be reporting to you at all times. But in reality, it's not always like that. You still have people that want some time. They want to talk to you. And that becomes a challenge.
What are some lessons because of being in these bigger rooms, maybe from Gary Keller or some big takeaways, because you've positioned yourself to be able to be in rooms with some really top players. And so what are conversations like in those rooms? What are some things that maybe even that Gary has inspired you in one way or another?
There's been a lot of different conversations and a lot of different rooms and a lot of iterations over those time. But the biggest thing for me that I am doing is about wealth building. I've been focusing a lot on wealth building over the last handful of years and building the business of the future. And I think a lot of times people don't spend enough time early on in their lives planning for the future because most people don't have long-term vision. they focus on what's in front of them and like making money today or, whatever that means, and not planning for the future, not building for the future. So when people want to quote unquote retire when they're 65, they can't because they haven't saved up enough money. They haven't done the things over the last 10, 20, 30, 40 years to be allowed to do that. And that was a big lesson that I learned about, not just from Gary Keller, but a lot of top people in the world from reading and stuff like that, that the most successful people are long-term thinkers and they have a long-term vision on things. So, 5, 6, 7 years ago, I started focusing on wealth building. Passive income has been a big thing for me. So whether it's buying businesses that have passive income, whether it's buying or building multifamily properties, which I build a lot of multifamily properties now that I hold in my portfolio that I rent out. So then you're, making money in your sleep theoretically in a more passive way. It's not completely passive, but more passive way, and trying to build on that every single year and chipping away. So when my kids are in college, which they're not too far away, my oldest daughter's going to college next year, so I'm not too far away from that. But when all my kids are in college, I want to be able to travel more. I want to have freedom. I want to have more free time. And I want to be able to work because I want to work, not because I have to work. A lot of people are working because they have to work, not necessarily because they want to work. I still do want to work, but you want to get to a point where you can make the decision and have more freedom in your life. And that comes from planning, that comes from investing, that comes from setting yourself up for the future, whether that's 10 years from now or 40 years from now, but continuing to chip away every single year. So when you look back in 10, 20, 30 years, you have done all the right things all along, so you can set yourself up to have options and have freedom.
Considering everything that you've done now, and I'm sure you when you first started as a single agent and you sold 50 homes the first year, I don't know that did you think that you would have brokerages in multiple states and be where you're at now? Did you have the vision then?
No, I didn't have the vision to have multiple brokerages, but I was the guy that came in during my interview for being a real estate agent, thinking that it was a job interview, not realizing that the brokerage literally would hire anybody. And I came in with a PowerPoint presentation of here's what I'm going to do for lead generation. Here's what the next 5 year is going to look like. I was going to start a team in year 3, and here's how much business we're going to, I had a whole plan. And they were like, who is this guy? Like, what the heck? Like, we were literally good to just hire.
So knowing that you didn't have that, let's go back to 10-year-old Noah. What did you want to, what did you think your future looked like at 10? What did you want to do?
12-year-old Noah was a DJ. I went to I got an opportunity. I was, sixth grade, 7th grade at that point. And I got an opportunity to DJ a cast party of a 5th and 6th grade cast party.
What is a cast party?
Cast party is like the play for the school.
Okay.
The cast of the show had a party afterwards.
Okay.
And it was like a dance for 5th and 6th grade.
So at 12 years old, you thought you were going to be a DJ?
So I got asked to do it. We went out to Radio Shack, bought 2 CD players and a mixer, and we played CDs, and we did it. And I was like, this is so cool. I went home that night. I looked in the newspaper for all these party planning things, and I said, I want to be a DJ. And the next day I picked up the phone. I started calling them. I said, hey, are you hiring DJs? Are you hiring DJs? And finally somebody called me back, and I started training a couple weeks there. And then from the time I was 12 to 18 years old, I was DJing every single weekend at bar mitzvahs and weddings and sweet 16s and all that stuff. And, I was working.
We have an interesting parallel there.
What's that?
My first job at 13, I was a DJ at a roller skating rink until I was 18.
No way.
Yeah.
Should we do a battle?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it's true. That was my first job.
Let's do it.
13. So DJ. So I don't.
What was your name? What was your DJ name?
I didn't have a DJ name at the.
You didn't have a DJ name?
No, because it was different. Because it was in a controlled environment of the skating rink. So it wasn't like I was traveling with gear or anything. I just had to set the tone and vibe for the session and make sure everyone was just having a good fun and skating. So I played a lot of the 70s, 80s. Music.
We were talking the other day about skating rinks are a thing of the past, but I wish they came back. They're so much fun.
I think they go through waves, and they have, because I've been in that. Known that business for a while since, starting at 13. And my first birthday was at a skating rink. Yeah. My third birthday, I wouldn't be on this planet if it wasn't for a skating rink, because that's how my parents met. But the roller skating always goes in waves. right?
Okay.
Like the 70s, 80s was a big time. Then early 2000s was a big time again. It died off. And I think now we're getting back into that retro hip where like, even bars are theming back to the 70s,
I love
80s
it.
disco types of music. I mean, even here in town in St. Pete, Goodnight John Boy is like one of
Yeah.
the poppin' nightclubs, and it's all 70s themes.
Always. People love that.
Yeah, so it's interesting.
That's
always
fun.
Yeah, it's always just cool. Like, yes, we have all this stuff, but there's always that dream of like, back when we were younger, of like what did we think we were gonna do then versus where we are now. It's funny.
I did it until I was maybe 20. All through college, I did it. I had a company in college. I had multiple DJs working for me. And
So business came natural to you at an early age. What did your folks do? What was that environment?
Yeah,
like for you?
I learned business from my dad originally.
Okay.
He was a business guy. He had he was a general manager of a couple radio stations in Philadelphia for a while, and then
okay.
he started a staffing company, and he did that for a while
Got it.
when I was younger.
Got it. So him being radio and then DJ, there's some
A little bit, yeah.
a little bit of an inspiration there, maybe.
A little bit.
Pretty cool. So we're talking about wealth building, doing all the things. What's next for you? What do you think the future holds?
That's a good question. I'm going to continue to focus on all the things that I'm doing now in real estate and wealth building and development, and I'm always looking for opportunities. Right?
Where do you think the greatest opportunity is now?
I think there's a great. I don't know what the greatest opportunity is, but I think there continues to be a great opportunity in the real estate business right now. Just kind of tying that back, especially with all the new rules that came out for real estate agents, especially for the fact that the market hasn't been great over the last couple of years nationally. I think that a lot of people will get out of the business. And all the people that were taking 1 or 2 deals a year and not doing the right things, they just got their license to help their friend or family member out. Those people will get out of the business. And the people that continue to do the right things for their clients will be positioned better to take more market share and to do more business. And that to me is the greatest opportunity, to continue to do the right things, to get back to the basics, to go out and do business development, to do lead generation, and to start positioning yourself to be the real estate agent that people want to go to, that are going to give them the best chance of selling their homes, that are going to get them the best deal on the property, right? That the people that are doing that now are going to have the greatest opportunity. And I think over the next couple of years, you're going to see people take even more market share, do even better, and just absolutely crush it. But, the biggest opportunities in the world are going to be things that don't exist right now. AI is going to be a big thing, which, I'm still learning about myself. And I think there's going to be a lot of opportunities there. And I think there's going to be new things that come about that we don't even know yet.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. They said, I heard something the other day that AI is like the early internet right now.
Yeah.
You think of the early days, the 99 era, the dot-com era of the internet, of how naive we were to what it would be now, to where we can't live without it. It's an essential utility.
Really?
Where before it was, it was cool if you had it.
Yeah. I think it will replace a lot of industries. I don't know what its impact on real estate will be yet, but it will certainly help in some ways, I think, and maybe not in some other ways. But it will create new jobs and new opportunities, just like anytime there's a new technology or a new industrial revolution that comes out, lots of jobs are lost and lots of new jobs are created, and it creates new industries and new opportunities that we don't know yet. But again, if you're always looking for opportunities, always shopping for opportunities, when they come about, you can be ready to jump on them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Knowing that you have so many people, and now we have a platform right now, do you give a message to agents? Is there any words you want to share, or anything you want to say to the people?
Have fun, man. Have fun along the way. A lot of times people get so caught up in their work and they don't have fun along the way. And I think that's the big thing, is about work-life balance. That was a big thing for me all along the way, about having that balance, maybe even leaving a little bit of money on the table along the way to have that life, travel more. There's a big world out there. Go and see it, learn about different things, constantly be learning, spend money on your education. I think it's something that people don't spend enough time or money on, because to them it's an expense, but to me it's an investment. Invest in yourself.
What's that look like for you? Just quick, like learning. What are you doing for yourself in terms
I
of
read a lot of books, listen to a lot of books, self-help type, books, business books, all the mindset type things. Multiple books per month, so I learn a lot about that type of stuff. I go to trainings, I go to seminars, I watch videos and stuff like that. I get in the room with other people and ask them lots of questions. So I'm constantly spending money on that. That's a big thing. And I think I look at myself in 3 categories. Like I put my goals into 3 categories: health, wealth, and happiness. Right? So every year when I put my goals together, I put them in 3 categories. What are my health goals? Whether it's working out or eating healthy or drinking water, or sleeping, all those things. Wealth is what I want to do this year to increase the wealth and how I'm going to go do that, having plans and goals for that. And happiness is traveling. How many trips am I going to take? Where am I going to go? For my happiness type things. So when a lot of times when we put goals together, they're always business goals. But for me, I break it into those 3 categories. So I remember that they're the 3 most important things for me, and to give all 3 of those equal amount of time and attention.
Makes sense. You have to. I think a lot, especially in this industry, people lose sight of that. And I love that we just stick with the God family business in that order. And I do my best to remind people of that, including myself, because business tries to drive you instead of you driving it sometimes.
That's right. That's right.
If for those that made it this far, Noah, I always ask for the guests to give one word that they could comment below so that we know that they finished. What would be your one word that you would like to see commented below?
Impact.
Impact. Fitting.
Fitting. Make an impact on the world.
We're all trying to do it. I know you're tight on time. I really appreciate the insights and sharing, the wisdom. Even for us, we got a chance to have dinner last night, but these types of conversations are a little different for a podcast when I get to just fire off questions and dive into the past.
We'll do it again next time. We'll talk about fitness because you and I worked out this morning and we both got our asses kicked.
We did, and we have. We're both going to do that competition in April, so that'll be cool. It'll be cool.
That is. Which competition are we doing? Are we saying it?
Yeah, High Rocks.
High Rocks.
High Rocks in Miami.
Look it up. High Rocks. HYROX. It's
I just put it out there right now.
You put it out there, so you have to do it now.
I'm locked in now.
You are locked in.
Yeah. There's no going back, which is good. I need something to train for.
I love it.
Appreciate you. Thank you for everything you do. And comment impact if you're still here, which I know you are, because this is a ton. He dropped so many bombs. It's crazy. And we'll see you on the next one. Thanks, everyone.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep. That was good.